So let's begin with this session. So first and foremost, in civil services exam and in any exam in general, what you have to understand is that there are only two sources of information about what is important and what is going to be asked. The first is the syllabus and the second is previous year questions. Right. These are the two only legitimate sources of information. Everything else, everywhere else is built on top of these two things, right? People will say, ki, okay, there are trends, okay, there are, themes, okay, there are some sections which have very high weightage, some sections which don't have a lot of weightage. All of this information is based on these two ideas. Right. So first and foremost, whenever we're beginning the discussion of any subject, we need to understand what exactly is asked. UPSC itself, it is asking you, okay, you have to study this. So when it comes to geography, what is this? Indian and world geography, physical, social, economic geography of India and the world. Right. So social and economic geography, this is also known as your human geography. So what you have is physical geography, human geography of both India and the world. So this is your syllabus for prelims. Now, prelims ke baad, let's look at the mains ka syllabus also. Mains ka syllabus, salient features of the world's physical geography, which is also something that was very well covered in prelims ka subject, prelims ka syllabus. So this point is pretty much what was covered in prelims. So therefore, geography is one of those subjects which has a very heavy overlap with prelims. Whatever it is that you're reading for prelims, 60% of it is pretty much the same for mains also. Some areas may you will have to go a little bit deeper. Number 10, same as prelims. Similar, number 12, same as prelims. Important geophysical phenomenon such as earthquakes, tsunami, volcanic activity, cyclones. Geographical features and their location, and changes in critical geographical features, which is including water bodies and ice caps, and flora and fauna and the effects of such changes. Meaning, what will they be asking? They'll be asking, okay, there is a big lake called the Aral Sea. The Aral Sea is now drying up. So what is the impact? Right. You have to know these things because of physical geography, which you'll be doing for prelims also. But here, second order effects of that will be asked. So basic overlap is there, but mains may you will be asked to go a step deeper. This number 11 is a little more main specific. The first part of it, the distribution of key natural resources across the world. The primary focus of this is obviously the Indian subcontinent. Key natural resources aapki kya hai? These are things like iron ore, coal, petroleum, right? Uranium, lithium, all of these materials which you keep hearing in the news again and again are found in particular places in particular kinds of geographies. So you need to know, okay, when we say that, how many of you have heard of rare earth elements? Not exactly what it is, just you've heard of, okay, there is something called rare earth elements, yes or no? Right. So you've heard of rare earth elements, but where are they found? Are they actually rare? What exactly is rare in those rare earth elements? Once you get into it, you realize that rare earth elements are not all that rare. They are rare in the sense of कि जो ore है, when I'm refining the ore, so then I have to do a lot of refining, and that is what the rarity means. It is not that these elements are not found in nature. These elements are found in nature, but I will have to maybe, refine 1 ton, 2 tons of ore in order to get 1 kilo of the metal. Other places may, for example, in iron ore, maybe if I'm refining 1 ton of iron ore, I might get 250 kilos of iron. So that's the difference. So distribution of key natural resources, and then this is still relevant for prelims, but the detail and depth which is asked for this in mains is not there in prelims. The second part over here, factors responsible for the location of primary, secondary and tertiary sectors in various parts of the world. अब ये parts of the world वाला part thing जो है, this is generally, it's there, but it has never been asked. The primary focus on this is in India. So this part, mains exclusive, What are the factors responsible for, let's say, why is textile industry can be placed anywhere, or why is iron and steel industry concentrated so much in Chota Nagpur Plateau region? Why is IT industry in Bangalore, in Gurgaon? So these are questions you need to answer, because this is the human element of geography. Because wherever an industry is based, like for example, Delhi NCR and then Tamil Nadu में Chennai का जो area है greater, both of these are mega auto manufacturing industrial hubs. Why is that the case? Is there an advantage of placing them over there? So when you look into these things, you'll realize that, okay, yes, Delhi NCR is a great market. Delhi itself has a population of 2.5 crore people, and therefore there are a lot of cars that are bought in Delhi itself. So if you have an industrial manufacturing hub for cars right next to Delhi, naturally a lot of that output will go into Delhi itself. When we come to the Chennai region, so then we know that a lot of these cars will be exported, because if you are making cars for export and you're making them in Delhi NCR, so what will you have to do? First, you'll have to transport those cars from Delhi NCR to Bombay to some other port, and from there they'll be exported. But if it's in Chennai, it's right there. It's on the port. So this is the idea over here. I gave you the example of textile industry. Now textile industry it doesn't matter. Why? Because cotton is a very light raw material. No matter where I'm placing my industry can be in Surat also, in Indore also, in Lucknow also. It can be based on a port, it can be based near a market, doesn't matter. Why? Because moving cotton around is not that big of an issue. Similarly, the finished product can also be moved around very easily. So that's the idea. There are some factors and we need to study those factors. This is main specific. Every year 1 or 2 questions come. तो ये हमारा syllabus है. Now syllabus के साथ साथ let's also look at कि भाई breakdown of the subject क्या हो गया है. So geography for civil services exam is broken down into these 4 sections. Right? There is the physical geography of world. There's the physical geography of India. Then there is human geography. Primary focus of that is on India, although sometimes 1 or 2 questions can be asked for the world in prelims. Mains mein rarely they will ask you human geography world related questions. Finally, mapping. All of these are 4 key critical elements. Now there is a core difference over here. These 2 areas are very concept heavy, and these 2 are very fact heavy. Right? Mapping mein, if I'm asking you a question ki bhai, who are the neighboring countries of Afghanistan? So you have to have seen the map, and then you have to have memorized ki, okay, what are the countries in this region? Only then will you be able to answer. There is no concept over there. It is just plain memorization of the fact ki, okay, what are the countries here? Similarly, there have been questions asked ki, okay, which are the countries which are on the eastern side of the Mediterranean Sea? There have been questions asked ki, which are the countries which are neighboring Ukraine? So these sorts of questions, very fact-based and very predictable. Because right now there is a conflict going on which has been, front and center of the news across the world. Who can tell me the name of that conflict? Yes, very good. Right, so US-Iran conflict is the one that is going on, where Israel is also a major player. So naturally, when I'm talking about mapping, if an area has so much been in news, now that becomes your job. Ki, okay, now I want to go and see ki, where do I cover this? So geography for civil services exam is made up of these 3 major parts: physical geography, human geography, and mapping. These 2 parts very fact heavy, so therefore we have to keep revising multiple times. These are concepts. If you understand them once, they will stick around. Right? So this distinction is important for us because that is how we'll be spending time further on. Right? And for those of you that are interested, you can check out the UPSC Essential course where I am teaching geography. And the course is starting from the 16th of March. Now, UPSC Essential is a course which has produced AIR 102. Abhishek Chauhan was a student of UPSC Essential, one of our first batches. And he has secured AIR 102, and he'll be joining us for the first class itself, where he'll be talking about, how do you use this course, how to make the most of it. So rest of it, the course has 3 years of live classes, access to recordings, 3 years of one-to-one mentorship. All of these things are built into this course with a full test series. All of these things aimed at helping you get your civil services dream through the line. Right. For more details, you can visit courses.upscprep.com. Now, let's talk about weightage. So we'll talk about last 5 years in this, that when we talk about geography for civil services exam, so geography, एक तो it's a core subject for general studies, right? General studies, wherever it is mentioned, geography is going to be there. Geography में सबसे पहले in prelims, you are asked 15 to 20 questions, right? 1/5 to 1/6 of prelims is made up of geography. Then GS1, 100 marks direct out of 250, you have geography. Then geography is also relevant for GS3 में these two parts, agriculture and disaster management. Right, agriculture में, because geography में directly you'll be studying ki which areas are producing which particular crop, and geography में you'll be like going into detail of what are the soil kinds over there, what is the vegetation over there, what are the methods that you can use to increase the output of these crops. So GS3 में agriculture plus economy का इसका interface है, and then disaster management, because in geography you will be focusing on disaster management also, wherein which areas are more prone to particular kinds of disaster. Like for example, Delhi sits in a seismic zone, meaning it is a certain amount of exposure to earthquakes. But when you go to Deccan Plateau, the Deccan Plateau is one of the most stable parts of the Indian subcontinent. So Delhi might be zone 3 or 4, Deccan Plateau will be zone 1 or 2, meaning it is very unlikely that there'll be an earthquake in the Deccan, whereas Delhi can have some earthquakes. So these sorts of things also then help you determine ki, okay, if I'm going to give an answer to a disaster management ka question, having that information from geography also is very helpful. Right. So let's look at prelims 2025 ka breakdown. The most important thing that you have to understand over here is that this is roughly pretty much constant year on year. Now there are two subjects, polity and economy, which are very heavy, and there are 4 subjects. These 4 subjects have very high repetition. What do I mean when I say repetition? That every year, same topic say you will be getting 1 or 2 questions every year. We'll look at some of those topics. I'll show you some of those questions in the session today itself. Now, the rest of these subjects, they are important. You can't ignore them, because again, ab inko mila ke there are about 40 questions. But in these 40 questions, there is not a lot of repetition. There's like very high amount of variability, and if I'm spending a lot of my time in doing this, I may not get the output that I am hoping for. Here, in these 4 subjects, modern history, geography, polity, economy, yahan pe if I'm putting in time, I am sure to get an output. Right. Now, geography mein agar if I look at prelims, तो last 5 years का prelims के questions ये हैं. Right, rough average आप 15 questions का लेके चलो यहाँ पे. Every year 15 questions are coming from geography, and out of that, every year almost 5 to 6 questions will be map based in that. Right, 15 questions में से 6 map based हैं, and the remaining will be your physical geography, your human geography, everything else in geography, 6 map based questions. So that is why when I talked about okay, what are the components of geography for civil services exam, mapping is a key element over here. Mapping is something that you cannot ignore. मेंस में अगर इसी चीज को हम देखें तो मेंस में लास्ट 5 years में ज्योग्राफी का एवरेज प्रिटी मच आपका 100 के आसपास चल रहा है. 1 year में, 2 years में it's slightly more, 1 year slightly less, but roughly 100 marks in general studies 1 from geography, and therefore geography becomes a very scoring subject. If you do it well, if you understand it well, I score well not only in GS1, I do well in prelims also, and in general it also helps me a little bit in GS3. Right. तो अब बात करते हैं हम sources. Now, sources के लिए first, let's do an overview of the sources. Then I'll break down each and every one of them. कि physical geography में what are the things, why is this important, what are we doing, and so on. But primarily, your 4 basic NCRTs, class 11th and then class 12th. These are the only major resources that you have to follow. Everything else is secondary to them. ये 4 NCRTs, if you are able to do, and these NCRTs I will ask you to mug up. If you can mug up these NCRTs, you probably don't even need to make a lot of notes for geography, right? They are so good. Ab inme bhi there is a priority order, right? This over here is the best NCRT. This is also a pretty good NCRT, but it has some issues. This is an okay NCRT. Okay NCRT क्यों है? Because this needs a lot of current affairs updation. Right. In this NCRT, there is an appendix given at the end, which the last data in that appendix is from 2020. So very outdated in that sense, and therefore I need to update this with current affairs. Now this over here is, I would say the bad NCRT, because I'll read it, but I will not get a lot of information any which way. But still, you need to read it so as to understand this one also better. So priority order 1, 2, and then हमारा 3 and 4. Right. पढ़ने में whatever order you want to follow is up to your convenience. Generally, obviously, you want to understand physical geography first, then you come to this. But अगर आप इससे भी शुरू करके उधर जाते हो, ऐसा there is no problem in that. Start, however, with this. Why? Because these two deal with physical geography. That is the thing that I told you, that this is the concept heavy part of geography. So long as this part is concerned in geography, if you understand it well, 90% of the time you will get your questions right. Right? That is the idea over here. Here, if I understand the basics, I will still have to review them multiple times because this is a lot of data. Right? Here you will find information like, okay, wheat is a major crop in India, but which are the states which are the biggest producers of wheat in India? Which are the countries which are the biggest producers of wheat in the world? Then same for rice. So then that data you will have to mug up. You will have to constantly keep reviewing ki, okay, West Bengal is the highest rice producing state in India. Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, highest wheat producing states in India. So then that sort of information you have to keep updating. And for the update, the economic survey. How many of you know of this document, economic survey? Yes or no? Right. So I think a lot of you have also attended the economy wala session. So Ketan sir might have talked about this. But economic survey is a document which the government of India releases every year. So economic survey mein there is a statistical appendix. Statistical appendix mein you will have this sort of data. This exact thing that I was telling you about this NCRT, I'll just show you this NCRT. Right. For example, this is India, people and economy, and you look at this table over here. तो लास्ट डेट आपकी क्या दिख रही है? 2015 का इसमें डेटा दे रखा है, 2011 का इसमें डेटा दे रखा है. तो देन therefore I need to really update this piece of information. Now इसमें जो updated versions of this NCRT है, even they have last data from 2020-21. So therefore, economic survey ka statistical appendix becomes important for me. Ki, okay, now from here, I will look at which state in this particular year is the highest producer for wheat, right? So then again, I don't need to remember exact data. I don't need to remember ki, okay, who is how much farther away, this, that, XYZ. I need to just remember top 3. Ki, okay, Punjab, UP, Haryana, MP, these are very big wheat producing states. Then second order things I might have to look on to. Why are they producing a lot more wheat? Why are other states not producing as much? Okay, irrigation and fertile soil are one. Is there any other factor in here? So these sorts of second order things we'll have to do for mains. First order ke liye, for prelims, all that you need to remember, biggest producing states and all. Now, there is another book over here, GC Leong, which is a certificate physical geography, certificate physical and human geography. So this is a great book for world geography. Now, कायदे से all of the information that is in this book is in one form or another covered in this book. But in this book, what is covered in one chapter is covered in, let's say, 80 pages in this book, one chapter in NCERT. चैप्टर कौन सा है? चैप्टर ऑन लैंडफॉर्म्स. तो if landforms are not making sense to you, if that chapter seems too dense, this is a great book to refer to. So don't do this the full thing ki bhi, okay, I'm going to study GC Leong end to end XYZ. No. If you don't understand that chapter in NCERT, if there are some doubts that you have in that NCERT, this is a great reference book for you to go to. Okay. Now, the second part of this book is divided into two parts. The first part is your landforms. P1, landforms. P2 is climatic regions. Climatic regions वाली जो चीज है, this is something I would highly recommend that you do from this book. Why? Because climatic regions is something which gets questions almost every year. Almost every year they will ask you one or the other question ki, okay, you know, this kind of weather pattern is found. I think we have some questions. Let's just look at those particular questions. Did we keep those questions? We removed those questions. Yeah, we have those questions. Right, this sort of a question, almost every year, one or two questions you are asked. Okay, range of temperature kaisa hai? It is low. Precipitation occurs throughout the year. Precipitation varies between 50 and a 250 centimeter. So what they are asking ki which kind of climatic region this is. तो अब ये, why am I saying do it from GC Leong? GC Leong में इस टाइप का आपको चैप्टर दिया है. सबसे पहले there will be a map given. मैप में उसने बता दी कि ओके, दिस काइंड ऑफ क्लाइमेटिक रीजन फाउंड इन दीज रीजन्स. सेकेंड, रेनफॉल कैसी है? यू कैन सी वेरी क्लियरली थ्रू आउट द ईयर देयर इज रेनफॉल हैपनिंग इन दिस रीजन. थ्रू आउट द ईयर, दिस इज नॉर्दर्न हेमिस्फीयर, दिस इज सदर्न हेमिस्फीयर. राइट, थ्रू आउट द ईयर रेनफॉल इज हैपनिंग. टेम्परेचर नॉट वेरिंग अ लॉट. तो यही चीजें पूछी थी ना. रेंज ऑफ टेम्परेचर, rainfall is happening throughout the year or not, how much rainfall is happening. So that is why I really appreciate this book कि on a page visually हर climatic region का आपको ये breakdown दे दिया जाएगा कि भाई the locations of this climatic region, rainfall कितनी है, temperature कितना है, and every year one or two questions you get from this. So therefore 90 pages में one or two questions every year you will hit. Right. Now इसमें there is a question that people ask often, that which edition of GC Leong do we take? Doesn't matter. You take any one of them. You get the orange one, you take the orange one, you take the black one. कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. The idea is the same. The basic content of the books is the same. I think इस edition में बस क्या है? They have given some Indian examples. That is it. Nothing else different between the two books. Concepts are pretty much the same. So sources, is everybody clear on what are the sources for geography? Yes or no? Basic sources है NCERT is class 11th and 12th, and then GC Leong is a reference book if you don't understand anything in the NCERT, and the climatic regions wala part definitely do from this book. Now there is one last resource that is there for geography. Anybody want to take a guess what is the last resource that I'm going to share? Correct, absolutely correct. कहाँ गई? यहीं पे थे ये. One of the most important resources for your entire UPSC preparation is this atlas. And इसमें basic चीजें आपको देखनी है. That there is a student atlas, there is a school atlas. Anyone you want to get, you should get. That is not a problem. But आपको करना क्या है? जैसे आप, for example, I have the 6th edition of this atlas. Doesn't matter, नई countries नहीं आई हैं. There are no new countries that have been established. Mountain chains have not changed, so I don't care if you get the 3rd edition, 4th edition, 7th edition, doesn't matter. Not much of a difference it will make, right? Karna kya hai mujhe? I'm going to look at these two maps side by side, right? There is the physical map and there is the political map. So these maps I'm going to look at. I'm going to look at, okay, which are the biggest mountain chains in this particular continent? Okay, which are the, biggest lakes, biggest rivers in this particular continent? And this is the case with each continent given over here. South America political, South America and physical. So this is a great resource for that reason, because a lot of the times it's very easy for me to also map out कि अच्छा, this country ka boundary is also going along the line of this river. So now I know, because I've noticed on the map, that this river forms the boundary. Like for example, India mein, you go to India-Bangladesh border and you go to India-Pakistan border, there are rivers that are forming the boundary between the two countries on either side for a certain length of the time, because rivers are generally considered as, natural barriers. So therefore, that sort of a thing you want to notice in these areas, right? So Chavi is asking that which basic things need to be covered in the atlas. So atlas mein you'll see in the beginning there are a lot of these, a lot of maps are given, chota map, bada map, XYZ. So aapka primary concern in the atlas is going to be in two areas. First area, A1, Indian geography. तो यहां पे क्या होता है, एटलस में यू आर गिवन दिस स्टेट्स का फिजिकल फीचर्स एंड स्टेट बाउंड्रीज. सो दिस पार्ट, स्टेट्स, फिजिकल प्लस ह्यूमन. Now, इसमें I don't want to go into minute detail. I want to look at the big things. Okay, what is the big thing? What are the big ranges of mountains over here? Okay, people keep talking about something called the Kashmir Valley. Can I see the Kashmir Valley over here? Right? People keep talking about कि okay, there are the 5 rivers: Satluj, Beas, Ravi, Chenab, Jhelum. Where are the 5 rivers going from? Are they going from this state or that state? ये चीज आपको यहाँ पे करनी है, right? So this is area 1. Area 2. The same thing over here for continents. Major things that you want to pay attention to: 1, rivers; 2, mountain chains; 3, massive lakes. Massive lakes का क्या मतलब है? That when I live in a particular local area, so I will also know कि okay, there is a small water body over here. For example, if somebody is staying in or around Bangalore, they'll know that Bangalore is the city of lakes. Lot of lakes in Bangalore. But when I'm looking at the map of India, Bangalore ka lakes are not visible, right? What is visible? It will be something like Chilika Lake. It will be something like Pulikat Lake. It will be something like Vular Lake. So any lake which is visible on the map of India, those are the lakes that I'm concerned with. Similarly, when I'm talking about the continents, any lake which is visible on the size of the continent, I am concerned with those only. I am not concerned with each and every new lake. Now, in this, there is a caveat in which current affairs becomes important, right? Mapping in particular is that area where current affairs has special relevance. Now, I'll show you how. For example, let's look at some questions. Like for example, Ukraine has been in the news for the last couple of years. Would you agree? Yes or no? This is the map of Ukraine, neighbors of Ukraine. I think this is a question from 2023 prelims. The Russia-Ukraine conflict started in 2022. How many of the above mentioned countries share a land border with Ukraine? Any time that there is a conflict that is in news, be assured, मतलब ये भी नहीं कि probability, I'm saying be sure that there will be a question related to that in prelims. If not this year, definitely next year. Right? 2022 में Russia-Ukraine conflict started. 2023 में prelims में there is a question. Right? Let's look at this map of Afghanistan. So, when did the Americans get out of Afghanistan? When was the Taliban government re-established? Who can tell me? थोड़ा बहुत तो करंट अफेयर्स देखा होगा. करेक्ट. 2021 में the Taliban, as the Americans withdrew, Taliban government got re-established. This is a question from Prelims 2022. Which of the above have borders with Afghanistan? So this is what it is. I'm not saying you have to pay attention to everything. You don't. But if something is so much in news, you will get questions. And this is a very easy question if you've seen the map. Right? The simple thing that you have to know over here is that Azerbaijan is nowhere close to Afghanistan. And if you eliminate one, there is only one correct answer available. So it's that simple. If I'm just basic awareness मेरे को है कि भाई एशिया में where are the general countries, I don't even need to know each and every one. I can get this done. Now, for example, this was a question in Prelims 2023. Now, this works the other way around also. Now, this is an aspect of previous year question ka analysis. How many of you know what is PYQ analysis? Yes or no? Right, so this is a live example of what is exactly PYQ analysis. So 2023 में there was a question asked, in the recent years Chad, Guinea, Mali and Sudan caught the international attention for which of the following reasons common to all of them? The answer over here was this. But how many of you know where these countries are? They're in Africa, sure, but where in Africa? Africa is a good answer, but where exactly are they in Africa? Right? So you're not aware, and that is exactly how you have to do PYQ analysis. If a country has been mentioned in the question of any paper in the last 5 years, your job is to now go and look at the map of these places, right? Because very next year, Prelims 2024, the question is now there is instability and worsening security in the Sahel region. Right? This is a question related to the Sahel region. Now, if you don't know Sahel region, this is the Sahel region. Weren't these countries the ones that were just mentioned? Chad, Mali, Niger, यही countries थी ना 23 वाले question में. And now next year they have asked about the same region because again there is continuing conflict over here, just that they have changed the name. So this is the idea of PYQ analysis. If I know that these things are asked once, it is my job to go and check. Now another example of PYQ analysis I'll give you. Option B is incorrect over here, right? But since it is asked, so therefore if there are any Chinese bases or new Chinese bases that have been established, I should look at them, right? If China is establishing a base, let's say China has established a base over here in the country of, not over here, over here. This is a country called Djibouti, right? So therefore, if China has any other bases around this region, I should have a look at them. So that is the idea of PYQ analysis. Is this clear? Yes or no? Geography mein PYQ analysis becomes easier this way. Now, again, a region very much in the news. Yes or no? Would you agree that this region has been in the news? Israel may, not just because of the current conflict, but even before that, the Israel-Palestine conflict, where Gaza Strip may almost a massive killing of the Palestinians was happening. So therefore, I need to look at where exactly is the Gaza Strip. Okay, I'll see that Gaza Strip shares a land border with Egypt. Israel में आसपास कौन सी countries है? Israel not sharing a land border with Saudi Arabia. It shares with Jordan, with Syria, with Lebanon and Egypt. Right. Now, what does UPSC do? ये मैंने देख लिया. I was smart. Okay, कि भाई I looked at the country surrounding, because generally UPSC is asking country surrounding. Now UPSC is going step ahead. What is it doing? Mediterranean Sea is on the border of which of the following countries? You've just seen the map. Can you answer this question? A, B, C or D? बताओ क्या हो गया? तो see, this is exactly what it is. It's simple, straightforward. वही मैप था ना. इजराइल पे every year if they're asking again and again questions, इजराइल को छोड़ के अब क्या बोला? The term Levant, often heard in the news, corresponds to which region? It is the region along the eastern Mediterranean shores. That is Levant. Israel is in focus, and yet questions कैसे आ रहे हैं? Related but not sometimes direct. तो इसमें अगर देखें, over here Mediterranean Sea, Iraq nowhere close to Mediterranean, Syria has a border over here, Jordan does not have a border, Egypt has one. तो हो गया हमारा solution. इराक नहीं है, जॉर्डन नहीं है, लेबनान एंड सीरिया है. You have your answer as C. So if I look at places that are in news, I will be able to solve questions. क्योंकि अब सिंपल सा है कि नहीं न्यूज में? So much news for the last 10-15 days, and even before that, since last year when the Americans launched that 12-day war on Iran, they did the bunker busting thing. If it is so much in news, I need to know कि okay, this is my Strait of Hormuz. But what is this strait called? Who can tell me? What is the name of this strait? Nope, this is not Gibraltar. Gibraltar is over here. Gibraltar is that end of the Mediterranean. This is the Strait of Bab el Mandab. तो क्या है अब बब एल मंदब पे? इफ देयर इज अ क्वेश्चन दैट इज आस्क्ड इन प्रीलिम्स, यू कैन नॉट से दैट इट वाज नॉट इन न्यूज. दिस एंटायर रीजन इज इन न्यूज. यू नीड टू नो दीज थिंग्स, राइट? दिस इज द पर्शियन गल्फ, दिस इज द रेड सी. ओवर हियर कहां पे है? इज दिस हमारा सुएज कनाल और इज दिस द सुएज कनाल? वन और टू? व्हिच डू यू थिंक इज द सुएज कनाल? गुड. So everybody is clear? Suez Canal is over here, number 1. So देखो, simple things, you keep hearing about them, but I need to be doubly sure, because both of these regions look like potentially the canal could be here, but I have to be actually sure after having looked at the maps. So is the mapping aspect clear to everyone? How are questions coming from maps? Yes or no? Good. क्योंकि if this is making sense to you, the rest of it will also make sense to you. And now let's get back to जो हमारा NCERTs थी. I'll show you NCERTs are such a brilliant resource for prelims, because like almost every chapter, when it comes to physical geography, the physical geography NCERTs are such a brilliant resource that both NCERTs में almost every chapter say there is a question. As simple as that. You don't need to do any other thing, because that is better, this, that, it is more. Doesn't matter what is more comprehensive. Questions are directly asked from here, right? I'll show you. Now, physical geography, when it comes to, is made up of 3 core parts, right? The lithosphere, which is the land, then climatology, which is the air, and oceanography, which is the water. Land, air and water, the combination of these 3 things lead to life. But we want to focus on okay, earthquakes, volcanoes, geomorphology. Geomorphology, what does that mean? Geo is earth, morph is change. How is the earth changing? Geomorphology. How are mountains being formed? How are plateaus being formed? What are block mountains? What are fold mountains? Those sorts of things. And because of that, what kind of landforms do we have? Do we get deserts? Do we get plains? So that is lithosphere. Climatology mein, we talk about the atmosphere. Okay, what is the global circulation of winds like? Like for example, I'll show you something very interesting, right? So this is a brilliant website that we use in class. Let's put the HD thing and let's look at the monsoon, right? Oh, we need to do this for 2025 because we cannot look at the future, right? So these are wind circulations that are happening, right? Approximately, थोड़ा और पीछे करते हैं इसको एक महीना, right? You will see where is my pencil? Why am I not getting it? So what am I trying to show you? What are we trying to see is the simple thing that let's say that this is your equatorial break, right? Over here, winds are flowing mostly this way. Would you agree? Yes or no? Right. At the same time, in the northern hemisphere, the winds are unclear. Some are flowing here, some are flowing here, some are flowing here. Very unclear wind. No clarity on what is happening. This is in the month of April. Right. Now let's look at the month of when does monsoon begin in India? Who can tell me? Which month does monsoon generally enter India? Right. End of May, early June. So what we'll do is we'll look at 1st of June. 1st of June, suddenly the wind circulation has changed, has it not? पहले यहाँ पे जो unclear wind था, now that's a very clear कि okay, this wind is going here and then it's turning and coming into India. Would you agree? That is what is happening over here. And if I then go and look at the month of July, 1st of July, so this circulation should further strengthen. Okay, yes, much stronger winds are now coming into India. So that's the idea, that when we are dealing with climatology, we want to look at the global wind circulation. Why is the wind from the southern hemisphere coming into India? Okay, sure, we have the monsoon, but like what is causing that monsoon? So it is the heating of the land, lithosphere, combined with the circulation of wind, which is causing a unique climatic phenomenon in India. Similarly, we need to look at the oceans, because oceans are big reservoirs of not just heat, but also carbon dioxide, a lot of minerals, and a lot of energy, and a lot of protein. So what are the ocean currents? How are the ocean currents moving? So again, we'll look at something very interesting. So this is a website that I would highly recommend that you, each and every one of you, try and play with, right? Because now what we're looking at is ocean currents. So can you see that there is an ocean current which is crossing over from the western side of the Atlantic to the eastern side of the Atlantic? Yes or no? And because of this, there's something very interesting that happens. Right, we'll look at the month of January. January in the northern hemisphere is one of the coldest months. So what we are going to look at, ocean, yes, overlay, we want sea surface temperature. Okay. So this is the month of January. Right, you'll see over here, if I look at, where is temperature? In this region, what you will find, this is something I want you to go and check back. Over here, obviously, it is much farther down south. It is 33 degrees north. Right, 33 degrees north पे still hot. But once I come to this place, which is 60 degrees north, in the month of January, 60 degrees north should be very cold. If I look at some of these Scandinavian countries, they should be absolutely freezing, right? But because of this ocean current transporting a lot of this heat across the ocean over here, there's a very interesting thing that happens, that all of these, you know, countries over here, their ports never freeze up. These countries have ports that don't freeze up in the peak of winter, even though if you go inland in these countries, you'll have temperatures as low as -20 degree, -30 degree. Water will freeze at 0 degrees. But because of this transportation of massive amount of heat over here, nothing happening. So this is one of the reasons why Russia has so many problems. Right? कि Russia को आप देखोगे ना, so you'll understand that Russia does not have a warm water port. Every year, 4 months के लिए Russia का navy is locked in. So this explains why Russia is so interested in getting Ukraine. Right? Why does Russia want Ukraine? Russia simply wants warm water access for its navy, because if this is the region of Ukraine, we had the map of Ukraine, we'll look at that. Right, this is the region of Ukraine. Russia, big over here. Russia wants this chunk. Why does Russia want this chunk? Because as soon as it does that, Russia navy has access to the open ocean. Naturally, there are a lot of choke points, right? There is a big choke point over here. There is a big choke point, like let's say that, you know, other things happen. There is big choke point in the Strait of Gibraltar, but at least they will have a navy which can go to the sea 12 months of the year. Right now, Russia can't do that. So once you understand geography, once you understand the limitations of each of these countries, things start making a lot more sense. Right. So physical geography is made up of these three parts. Now let's look at these books. Best book, second best book. Absolutely awesome. Both of them, almost every chapter say there is a question coming. I'll show you exactly kaisa. Right. So this is Fundamentals of Physical Geography, page number 20. There is a section over here, P waves and S waves की बात कर रहे हैं. P waves are first to arrive, second to arrive. Prelims 2023 question. P waves are recorded earlier than S waves. P waves vibrate to and fro in the direction of propagation. Which other wave do you know travels this way? Individual particles vibrate to and fro in the direction of wave propagation. ऐसा और कौन ट्रैवल करता है? नो, ट्रांसफर्स वगैरह नहीं. Sound, how does sound travel? Through the pressure on the air in our mouths. We are compressing air. Compressed air is moving forward that way, and then that's how it's transferring. P waves, similar. एक दूसरी वेव होती है जो ऐसे ऐसे चल के जाती है, right? So that is the transverse wave. Basics directly given in the NCERT 2023 prelims. Now, not just the only. Next chapter, that was chapter number 3. Chapter number 4. This is prelims 2025. Chodo or, you know, belt. It's asking about the phenomenon of continental drift. Right, the Gondwana system of sediments from India is known to have its counterpart in 6 different land masses. The Gondwana system of sediments from India is known to have its counterparts in 6 different land masses. Exact statement picked up right from this NCERT chapter number 4. अभी chapter number 3 से question था, अभी chapter number 4 से question है. And like, look at these questions. Prelims 2024 में there was a question. Which of the following are isothermal maps? Month of January. Similarly, in January, isothermal maps. So, एक तो UPSC is sometimes so lazy that this question is absolutely the same as this question. All that they have done is change the language a little bit. Right? I'll show you how. इसमें क्या बोल रहा है? Isotherms deviate to the north. यहाँ पे क्या बोला? Isotherms bend equatorward. What does bend equatorward mean? Is it deviating north or south? When something is bending towards the equator, is it going north or is it going south? Clear? सबको clear है ये? So is this not the same statement over here, just written different? एक तो UPSC is so lazy at times. Same question almost repeated. And this are maps from chapter 8, same NCERT. Isotherms bending north, isotherms bending south. Is this not the case? Over the ocean, they are bending north over the ocean, and over the continent, they are bending south. Direct from the NCERT, you are getting questions. More questions from chapter 8 itself. Prelims 2023, Prelims 2022. Almost every year, questions are coming from each chapter of this NCERT. So therefore, I don't want you to be worried about ki, okay, PMF IAS is there, Majid Hussain is there. All of those are good books, but you don't need to go into that amount of detail. And that's what I want to make clear. Absolutely. Ki dekho, if you want to do a PhD in geography, sure, go ahead and do it. But I want to make the best use of my time, do I not? How many of you want to make the best use of your time over here? And that is what it is. So even now, for example, you're sitting in this session, would you agree that this is a good use of your time or a bad use of your time? Are you using your time well by being in this session? Right. So that is the idea, that basic NCERT, fundamentals of physical geography, almost every chapter you are getting a question. Don't worry, chill. There are hundreds of other resources. Doesn't matter. Do I want to watch videos? Doesn't matter. Don't focus on that one book. If you can do that one book well, you will get questions right. Coming to Indian geography, right? Indian geography का second जो book था हमारी NCERT class 11, which was India Physical Environment. Now again, India Physical Environment or Indian geography, these parts are your physical geography, and these parts are your human geography. Right, so the class 12th wali NCERT is covered from here, and class 11th wali NCERT is covering all of these aspects. Now, for some, mysterious reason, NCERT decided that there is a chapter on soils and it is no longer important, even though UPSC is asking very frequent and relevant questions related to soil. Sometimes they'll ask you, okay, this kind of soil is found where? This kind of soil has which kind of crops? So soils is an important chapter, but in the new revised edition of the NCERT, this one chapter is removed. I don't know what sense they were trying to make. So we have also solved that for you. You can go to courses.upscprep.com. Over here, visit free courses. Free courses mein there's beginner's guide to UPSC prep and NCERTs. So isme, naturally what we have done, we have given you a lot of the strategy sessions कि भाई हर subject के लिए how do you approach, what do you do. यहाँ पे NCERTs जितनी भी आपको चाहिए, all of those NCERTs given at the same place, how to start preparation, geography from zero, syllabus understanding कैसे है क्या है, but supplementary material में I have also put that extra chapter of soils. So this is just a scanned copy of the NCERT. I happen to have the old NCERT, and this is where you'll find this. So this is a good chapter. Get it? ये वाली सारी चीजें जो हैं आपकी क्लास 11th की NCERTs में हैं. Every year, physiography, drainage system, climate, soils, natural vegetation. Almost 3 questions will come from here. Now, there is a very interesting chapter in this NCERT, which is chapter number 3, drainage system. Every year, 1 question per year. Sure shot. Sometimes they will ask you related to Ganga, sometimes they'll ask you related to Indus, sometimes they'll ask you related to Brahmaputra. Every year, 1 question related to the rivers of India is going to come in prelims. This has been the case for the last 10 years. Every year, 1 question comes. 7-8 page का chapter है. This is just a 7-8 page chapter. I want you to just mug it up. Don't worry about anything else कि अच्छा कौन क्या क्यों कहाँ. Mug it up and you'll be done. So इस पे I've also made a detailed video. If that is not making sense, कि भाई okay, chapter is getting too dry, I'm not able to understand this, I've made a video on the river systems of India. We've covered the major important rivers. Similarly, I'll be making further videos on mapping for geography. We'll be covering mountain chains and hill ranges in India. We'll be covering major lakes in India. we'll be covering India ka physical map, India ka political map, we'll be covering world geography. All of these videos will be coming out in the next 4-5 weeks. Right. So that is the idea. Class 11th ki 2 NCRTs, please, that is the only thing that you need to do. You will be able to solve a lot of questions right from there. So world geography ke liye, is physical geography ka, have I made the case clearly enough that NCRTs are pretty much the most important resources and that's all that you need to do? Awesome. And that is what you have to keep in mind with most subjects in civil services exam. Resources are simple. You have to do them multiple times in order to ensure that, okay, I've got everything that is required. Now, world geography ke liye, GC Leong, great thing. GC Leong ka part 2 in particular, we want to do. Right. So part 2 kya hai? Weather, climate and vegetation. Part 1 you can refer to if you don't understand anything in the 11th NCRT. Use it like a reference book. That if I don't understand anything in the class 11th ka fundamentals of physical geography, then I refer to the first 12 chapters from here. If that NCRT is making sense, you can skip the first half. Second half, I want you to do. Second half ke liye, we have seen this before, that each chapter will have these sorts of maps and illustrations. And this is something you have to understand about human memory. Human memory is visual. If we see something, we tend to remember it a lot more. And when I see this sort of a map, when I see this sort of a graph, this will stick with me. And then obviously I can use it in questions like this. Right. So mapping का relevance हम देख चुके हैं काफी. Is the relevance for mapping clear to each and every one of you? कि mapping में we have to do the basics. Right. India and world. इसमें mapping में we want to do major rivers for both mountain chains, then major lakes. These are things that I want to do for both. And then current affairs based places in conflict or somewhere where new minerals are being found, or like for example, Greenland is not in conflict. Right, Greenland is not in conflict, but it is in news. So therefore, I need to look at Greenland. And you will notice that because of that, somewhere or the other, there has already been a question around the area of the North Sea. So North Sea, North Sea हमारा कहाँ है? North Sea is this region. Right, this is the region. Greenland over here. Which country is this? Who can tell me? This particular country over here. काफी quizzing हो गई. So this is a great website called earth.nullschool.net. Go and play around with it. We use it a lot in class. It's a free resource available on the internet. And this is something that I want each and every one of you to figure. Ki there are great resources available on the internet. This is one of them. So similarly, we have created this, which is the Prelims GPT. Have any of you used this so far? Right. So for those that have not used it, it's a simple resource. Simple resource का क्या है? I have fed the last 10-12 years of prelims ka previous year questions to this, and all that I have to do now is ask it some questions. Right. If my computer will respond, we will ask it some questions. Okay. What are the areas related to mapping, or rather, let me just frame it a different way. Every year in geography, there are some questions that are related to maps. Can you give me a trend or a pattern which emerges from the types of questions that have been asked in any given years? Every year there are some questions that are related to maps. Okay, cool. Locations in news. तो अगेन रिवर्स, ये जो हमारा बार बार क्वेश्चन आते हैं उससे, तो लाइक दिस इज अ ग्रेट रिसोर्स. तो ऑल ऑफ दीज सॉर्ट्स ऑफ क्वेश्चंस दैट यू हैव, you can ask these questions to GPT. And please keep in mind that given this year, as I've been talking to a lot of rankers from 2025, almost everyone has been using AI tools. So then make the best use of them. But please keep in mind that these tools can lie to you. So once you get the information, do cross verify it. Don't just कि नहीं नहीं इसने बोल दिया तो I will believe it, right? So please do make use of that. So mapping में we have discussed these things where we talked about कि okay, there are places in news and then because of that they are asked again and again in questions. This is an area that I feel you'll be getting some questions from around here somewhere, which brings us to human geography. Right. So human geography is the section alongside mapping where you have to do a lot of fact-based memorization. If you're able to do this fact-based memorization, again, you will score some better marks. Human geography का primary relevance is mains. In mains, जो हमने syllabus में देखा था, that there was this section, factors responsible for location of primary, secondary, tertiary, these sorts of things, they become very, very important when it comes to human geography. So, human geography को अगर हम देखें, तो human geography can be broken down into these 4-5 sections. The first part is obviously population. So how does population grow? Malab, some countries are still growing. Like for example, how many of you are aware ki वजह, which is the most populous country in the world? That is the question for you. बहुत GK हो गया आज. Correct. So in the last couple of years, India has overtaken China as the biggest country in terms of number of people. Now India is going to continue to grow till 2050, right? And then the population will decline a little bit and then it will settle at a stable place. So there are people who've made this prediction that by 2100, India's population will stabilize. How do they know what is going to happen in 2100? Because of population studies, because there are well-established patterns about how populations change, and that's what's relevant for human geography, right? So basics आपका यहाँ पे है. Prelims में very rare, I think one question was asked from here in 2022, but then that question could also have been relevant for based on COVID, right? COVID के time पे we had heard that Spain में that there were a lot of elderly people, Italy में there were a lot of elderly people. So around that theme, there was a question asked. But mains में number of times there have been questions on demographic dividend, demographic winter, that sort of a thing. Second, agriculture. तो ये एक core focus अपना रहता है that agriculture में that which are the biggest. I'll be taking questions at the end of the session, right? Once we are done, I think we have a couple more slides left and then we'll be done. Right, agriculture में क्या रहेगा that, for example, India is producing wheat, but what is the comparative production of wheat in, let's say, China or in the US? What is happening in those countries that they have higher wheat production than India? And like, what are the reasons which are stopping India from, having that kind of output? So these sorts of things will be asked over here. Not just that, also there'll be focus on non-food crops, right? What are the non-food crops? Who can give me an example of some non-food crops? Yes, very good, Chaitanya. Cotton and jute के अलावा give me some examples. Rubber, yes. Tobacco, correct. So these are non-food crops, but again, important part of your agricultural output. So similarly, human geography में another aspect is trade. Trade is very closely linked to these couple of things. Population also has an impact, but a country that has a lot of minerals obviously will be trading in those minerals or in finished products. So that sort of a thing trade mein कि what are we importing, what are we exporting. For example, how many of you knew, before I'm about to tell you, that one of the largest export items from India is petroleum products? How many of you knew this? Yes or no? Simple question. So that is the idea. Ki when I look at the trade, India is one of the largest importers of crude oil, and Indian refineries are some of the best in the world. मतलब अपना IOCL है या Reliance है, these are globally competitive refineries. We bring in a lot of crude oil, we refine it, and then we go and sell it outside also, right? So that's something that's wild when you think about it. So minerals, again, there are metallic minerals, there are non-metallic minerals. Minerals हमारा जैसे like iron, coal, your aluminium, then lithium, beryllium, जो हमारे rare earth elements हैं. Then not just that, you have other minerals. For example, you'll have gold, you'll have copper. All of these things, wherever they are found, so what are the geographic conditions for them? Because if we have a lot of gold mines in India, so therefore, we don't have to import that much gold. But if we don't have the mines, we will have to import a lot of gold. So these sorts of aspects come up in human geography. Trade is dependent very much on minerals. If we don't have iron ore, we will need to import iron ore. Why? Because we need iron and steel in everything. On a daily basis, you and I are using a lot of steel, or basically that metal. The utensils that we use are made up of metal. The utensils that are used to cook the food are made of metal. Like right now, my watch ka clasp, some metal, metal over here, metal over here. So much metal is being consumed that if economy has to grow, metal has to be there. To get that metal, we have to do these things. Infrastructure similarly. तो ह्यूमन ज्योग्राफी में ये सिमिलर चीजें आ जाती हैं सारी. इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में क्या है? We are looking at roads, we are looking at rail, we are looking at waterways, we are looking at ports and airports. So these 5 major means of transportation and communication, these are things that we want to look at, because this is in turn impacting trade. How? That if I want to export something, I should be able to transport it. If I'm not able to transport it, I'm not going to be very competitive in trade either. So human geography again becomes an interconnected part. तो हमारे जो sources इसके लिए हैं, these are good sources for this, but with this you will have to naturally update along with current affairs. Current affairs में I've said economic survey is a good resource, or the best resource, because this is the official data from the government of India, which comes out every year, which is going to give you an update on okay, how much roads have been built here. Because if I'm dependent on the NCRT, so NCRT is giving me road data from 2020, but since then a lot more roads have been built, not just national highways, state highways, other kinds of roads. Similarly, a lot more airports have come up, a lot more ports have come up, inland waterways have been developed. So therefore, economic survey and current affairs become very important in the human geography aspect of things. The good thing over here is, though, this is not very frequently asked in prelims. This is very heavily asked in mains, right? So this brings us to the next sections. कि भाई prelims में यहाँ पे questions जो हमारे आते हैं, these are related to agriculture a lot more. कि भाई okay, which of the following is the least water efficient crop? Who can give me the answer for number 57? I think this should be an easy answer. Apparently it is not. So always keep in mind, millets are dry area crops. Millets are grown in dry areas, so they will generally be water efficient. The question is least water efficient. The answer is sugarcane, right? Because sugarcane, cane juice, it is made up of water. Without water, it is not going to be there. So Simple question if once you start thinking about it. So similarly, pulse productions related, there were questions. Then crop is subtropical in nature, frost is injurious to it, it will give you a description. Now this is the exact description as has been given in this NCRT. Right, India people and economy mein, is NCRT mein, if you go and look at the description for cotton, this is exactly the description that has been given over here. Where is this? Wheat, jowar, pulses, groundnut, where is jute? Right. Where the hell is cotton? Okay. I'll take a screenshot of this later and put it here. But that's the idea. Ki class 10th NCRT, class 12th NCRT, both of them, basic description that has been given for cotton is this, directly from the same NCRT. So therefore, very good NCRT for covering prelims. But when you want to do mains, I have to do something extra, because then I need to get the updated information. And if I can use that information and input in my answers, I'll obviously be scoring well. Right. Which brings us to some skippable questions, that whenever you're preparing for any subject at this exam, always keep in mind that at best, I will be able to cover 90 to 95% of the syllabus. This is the best that I can do, no matter how many resources I cover. So please keep in mind that this is a core part of the strategy for any given subject, be it polity, economy, geography, environment, any subject. Best you can do is 90 to 95% coverage. There will always be something that is left. And when that happens, we choose to skip. So what are some questions that we choose to skip? Like for example, this question. So when I told you to do mapping mein that you should do lakes, I also told you, right, I also told you that I want to focus on the lakes which are visible on the continent map, correct? When I look at the continent map, these two lakes are not at all visible. Not just that, the question takes it one level further, that okay, this lake is at least visible on the African continent ka map, it's part of the East African Rift Valley. Through how many of them does the equator pass? So this is a very tough question, very fact-based question on, places that I might not have heard of. So therefore, skip. Similarly, whenever you see multiple columns, so in multiple columns, there are more chances of me being wrong. And जब इस type के statements हमको मिलते हैं, so therefore, it is an area where I want to take less risk, right? In the end, you have to keep in mind that civil services exam, we are trying to clear an exam. I don't want to become an expert in geography. My job is this. So therefore, I want to optimize my time spent by not worrying about these kinds of questions. Why am I showing you these questions? Because people come to me and then they ask me, sir, okay, how much am I supposed to remember? You told me, okay, top 10 biggest rivers of India you do, and over here Netravati river is given, Subarnarekha is given, these are very small rivers. Yes. And that is why you skip these kinds of questions. If you are going to chase each and every last bit of fact that is given over here, you will go mad, right? There is so much minor detail. So this is also that is something that is being tested. Every year, there will be 5 to 10 bullshit questions. These are not questions that you are even supposed to attempt. These are questions that you have to skip. Focus on the basic resources. You do the 4 NCRTs, you cover some current affairs, 90% of questions in geography you will be able to do. That's it. You don't need anything else. Atlas kar liya saath mein, sorted, nothing else. Right? So that's what I want you to keep in mind. Right? So similarly, if you have never heard of these lakes, Lake Victoria, again, will be something that you have heard of, and you will know it is not in West Africa. So, okay, sure. Out of these 3, if I have not heard of these lakes, I don't want you to worry about them. Now that they have been asked in a question, go and look at them, sure. But if this sort of a question comes, I have put my effort in for geography, I've done the NCRTs, I've done half part of GC Leong, I've done the Atlas very well, and then they're asking me something which I've never heard of, this is the question that you skip. Even the best batsmen out there, they don't play certain balls, right? You don't get extra marks by attempting all questions. And I want to highlight that very specifically over here, right? So finally, we come to making notes. So when it comes to geography, making notes for prelims, I would say not very necessary. Why? Because I told you, I showed you examples from that one NCRT, India, fundamentals of physical geography. Do that NCRT end to end. No need to make notes. Just keep doing that NCRT again. Underline, highlight, do kachra kar do usko. That one book, if you've done it well, you can review in 4 to 5 hours. That is all that you need for prelims. Mains के लिए, however, you should make some notes. Right, mains के लिए I want to make notes. I want to make notes of location of industries. Mains के लिए I want to make notes of the different areas and how minerals are being explored, or what is the strength of India in particular minerals. What are the trade deals that we are giving, and what particular minerals are being traded and discussed over there. So these sorts of things I want to cover when I'm talking about mains. So when there is some major news, now somebody had asked in the chat about Ramsar sites. So Ramsar sites per se is related to environment. How many of you have heard of this? Ramsar Convention, yes or no? Right, if you've not heard of it, absolutely okay, because you're just beginning. Ramsar Convention is a ecological conservation related convention which talks about wetland areas, meaning any area where there is some amount of water. Ramsar Convention tends to deal with it. So Ramsar Convention is like recently what India has been doing. Every year 10 to 15 sites we declare as new Ramsar sites. So my job, because there are almost 100 Ramsar sites in India, I cannot do all of them. That is madness, right? I'm not supposed to do a PhD in geography. I am going to only do the most recent Ramsar sites. Have there been any major Ramsar sites declared in 25 and 26, or rather from April of 2025 onwards till 2026 April? All of the Ramsar sites that have been declared in this time, okay, those are the things I pay attention to, right? And that then probably you want to make some notes of. But in general, prelims के notes आपको बनाने की जरूरत नहीं है. Mains के notes definitely you make, right? So, which brings us to the last part, which is answer writing. Now, how many of you have tried some or the other type of answer writing, be it for geography, be it for any other subject? Yes or no? At school, very good. Chalo, matlab at least at school you did some answer writing. So, over here, I want you to use the NCRTs. So NCRTs में answer writing के अलावा at the end of each chapter, you'll be given some MCQs. Definitely try and mark these MCQs, because at the end of each chapter, right then and there itself, you'll figure out ki, okay, do I understand the concepts? Am I missing something? If I'm missing something, I can then go and revisit. So this is a very good resource. The second most important part over here, at the end of that chapter, same chapter, this is given. Answer the following questions about 150 words. So in mains, 10 mark questions mein, you are supposed to write 150 words only. First question, what are the evidences in support of the continental drift theory? So this is a question directly from Mains 2013. What do you understand by the theory of continental drift? Discuss the prominent evidences in its support. Would you say that they are, similar? Yes or no? So that is what I want you to keep in mind. That UPSC mains level questions are there at the end of NCRTs, and the best part about that is it is only going to test the information from just that chapter. It is the best place to get started with answer writing. This is the best place if you are a beginner at geography. This is where you get started with answer writing. Try and answer these questions. you will really get a good sense of ki, okay, can I use the information that I have just learned in the last 10 pages? Because keep in mind that when we look at answer writing from a mains perspective for the whole of general studies, it becomes a very big project. And this is one of the biggest problems that a lot of people face, that they constantly keep asking me, ki, sir, how do I get started with answer writing? Because, I don't know where to start. This is where you start. Simple last 10 pages may whatever information that has been given to you, only on the basis of that you have to answer this question. And you can see mains type questions, mains level quality of the questions is there, and absolutely brilliant way to start. So uh, the question is ki, how do we express all of that information in 150 words? That is exactly what you learn to practice. That when you start writing, this is what you will figure out. Okay, I want to give information a lot, but I have a word limit, 150 words. So in UPSC, what you'll get is a 10-mark question. So UPSC mein, you get something called a QCAB. How many of you know what this is? You get a QCAB. Right. So it's a very simple thing. This is a trick question. This is a question come answer booklet. Meaning when you're giving mains, you are given a booklet similar to what is given to you in the board exams. You have to write your answers in that only, and that is submitted. So in the QCAB, for a 10-mark question, you're given 2 pages. For a 15-mark question, you're given 3 pages. So when you're writing these NCERT answers, meaning both sides of a single page, 2 pages doesn't mean 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. No, 2 pages is 1 and 2 side of a page. This is what I want you to try. Whenever you're writing these 150 word answers, try and put it as best you can in 2 pages. And दूसरा चीज एक और कि when you look at the actual NCR, I think I have a UPSC booklet. Wait, let me. How many of you have seen the UPSC style answer booklets? Right. So this is the sort of thing. So what you'll see over here, I've done a lot of practice in this. So there is a massive margin on both sides. There's a margin on top and there's a margin on the bottom also. So this is 1 page, this is 2 page. This is the space that you have for a 10-mark question. Right, topper ka mock copies mein you'll see this. So that is the idea. And that's where you get started with answer writing. So I hope we've made some sense with regards to how do you get started with geography. Is the basic idea clear over here? What are the sources? Is everybody clear on that? Yes or no? Good. Have I made clear and impressed upon you the importance of mapping and how do you approach mapping for UPSC? Right? And have we also discussed some basics of how do you approach mains preparation? Where do you make notes or not? And how do you get started with geography answer writing? Yes, start with answer writing from NCERT. Right. So that is all that I had for the session today. Thank you all for joining. Now, if there are any, questions that have been put in the Q&A section, I'll take that up. So somebody is asking, can I summarize the entire session? Lanya, I just did. We talked about the sources. We talked about the importance of the subject. We started with the importance of the subject. So ये करते हैं. We started with syllabus. We looked at prelims, we looked at mains, we looked at the overlap. Right. Then number 2, we looked at sources. Sources may we looked at NCRTs, we looked at GC Leong, we looked at Atlas. Right. In this, I gave you a preference order of the NCRTs also. GC Leong May also, I told you that there is a half that you have to do, there is one half that you don't have to do. Atlas May, I told you the specific things to focus on. There are a lot of things. Everything doesn't need to be done. Then we looked at, some examples, a lot of examples we looked at. We looked at examples of how these NCRTs say you are getting direct question. We looked at question कि भाई GC Leong का जो second half है, how you're getting direct questions from there. We looked at Atlas and how you're getting direct questions from the Atlas or maps. A lot of the discussion was around this. And then finally, we talked about notes and answer writing. So this is a summary of the session that we had today. The session ka PDF we will provide, don't worry about that, and rest we'll take up the questions that are being put in the Q&A section. So what I'll do is I'll just switch the view, just give me a moment. Now the session is over, the discussion that we wanted to have is done. If you do not have any questions, you can skip. For those that have questions, we will now take them up. Just give me a moment. All right, so Manoj is asking, should I go through class 6th to 10th NCRTs? So if you cannot make sense of the class 11th and 12th NCRTs, then definitely go through your 6th to 8th ka NCRTs. If you can make sense of the class 11th and 12th ka NCRTs, you don't need to do everything. It is going to be a repetition of the same thing. Right. Is there any difference between student atlas and school atlas? For your purposes, doesn't make a difference. Prefer student atlas if you can get it. But if you have the other one, it doesn't make a difference. So Janani is asking how to attend more sessions like this. Janani, you can join our Telegram channel. We keep sharing information about these sorts of sessions. We have already done session on polity, economy, ancient medieval art and culture. And I think there is another session lined up for Tuesday and then Saturday. So every Tuesday and Saturday, we are having these sessions. So the Telegram channel, you can search for @UPSC Prep IAS. Right. I'll share that in the chat over here. @UPSC Prep IAS. That is what you have to search for on Telegram, and you'll find us, and all the information you can get from there. Right. So how will we analyze PYQs along with the NCRTs and chapter wise, or should we do it after completing the whole book? So try and do it, after each book. Once you're done with physical geography, fundamentals of physical geography, we go and look at questions related to physical geography, because there will be a lot of them. Then that makes sense. Otherwise, what happens is you keep spending time flipping through a lot of questions, but then it becomes difficult to decide, okay, is this related to physical geography? Is this some other subject? Because I don't know about the entire subject. So first, complete one book, look at previous year questions when you're doing the second round and third rounds. Saint is asking, how do you understand the chapter in NCRT before? How? This is a wild question to ask. How do you understand the chapter in NCRT before reading it? Malab, I don't know actually. Malab, you have to read it to understand. How to start current affairs as a beginner? Start reading the newspaper. Nothing else to be done. Don't worry about, okay, I have to make notes. No, nothing. One thing and only one thing I want you to do when you're reading the newspaper as a beginner, start indexing. Okay, this news item is related to which subject? Is it related to polity? Is it related to economy, to geography? That sort of a thing. Right. how to interlink physical and human geography without making it bulkier to absorb, Madhavi is asking. So how to interlink physical and human geography? First you need to understand physical geography. If you've understood physical geography, at the same time, like for example, let's say when we do जो हमारा population dynamics hota hai in class. So the first thing that we discuss is we look at population density across the globe, and we find out that the areas that are very hot don't have a lot of humans. The areas that are relatively cool, which are easier to live in, suddenly have a lot more humans. So it's when you have the basics of one and then you start adding information from the second, which is human geography, on top of that, it will all automatically start making sense. And practically that is how exactly we teach it during the UPSC essential course. We teach it kya? I teach it that way, that we take a base and then we keep adding more and more layers on top of it. Right. So I think we'll take the. So Ganesh is asking, can Prelims GPT ask questions based on the content we have covered? And yes, it can ask you questions. You can tell it, ki, okay, this is the area that I want to get tested. You can also ask it, ki, okay, this is the subject that I've done, and ask me previous year questions from here. So we'll take the last couple of questions. I think my throat is not in the best shape. Though Madhavi, for this you have to be patient also. Madhavi is asking, how do we interlink the various factors within human geography itself, one by one? You cannot jump through, okay, suddenly one day I will wake up and everything will make sense. No, we keep adding layer by layer. And this is one of the core things. UPSC essential course mein we do follow phases, right? Phases ka kya matlab hai? I don't do the whole thing on day one. I go step by step. First, I do the easy part. Then I make it a little more complex, a little more challenging. And then slowly, I keep climbing that ladder. So you have to be patient. It cannot be that, everything will make sense all at once. So the website we were using for tides and like all of that, that was earth.nullschool.net. Right. So Akash is asking, how can I make the most of the essential course as a working aspirant with only 3 to 4 hours to spare per day? So in that case, I think the best way that you can use this course is, attend the classes. Classes ko like preferably watch recorded based on, your schedule, because classes usually happen at 7 p.m. We've tried to accommodate working candidates over here, but I'm sure sometimes your work can be up to 10 or not. Your shift might be different. So all of those things. The core idea is go through the classes. Once you've gone through the classes, साथ की साथ we also give you daily practice questions. So that is something that helps you review whatever it is that you've done in the classes. Daily practice questions के साथ साथ we also give you one mains का question which is based on that particular topic itself. So the course is designed कि if you just follow the classes, I think a lot of the heavy lifting is done for you, but you have to be consistent with it. And then whenever you're facing a doubt, obviously you can book a mentor call. Since you're a working candidate, we also have mentor calls across the week. There'll be morning, evening, Monday to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, any day you can book your mentor call and discuss. Right. So Chetrali is saying in the village newspaper doesn't come. So what can I do? So Chetrali, in that case, you can get a digital copy of the newspaper. We are also sharing, the highlights of the newspaper on our Telegram channel. You can get it from there. Right. So I think we'll end the session here. My throat is baitne wala hai abhi. And thank you all for joining. Thank you all for giving me your time, and all the best on your UPSC journeys.